What's up, Victoria? It's me, Victoria, and today we're going to reflect on the makeup purchases I made in September of 2024. I think now more than ever, we should be really reflective on our past makeup purchases before really considering to make a new purchase. We are living in maybe the most uncertain times I've ever felt like I lived in. The biggest kindness you can do for yourself is hold on to your money. And one way to do that is to reflect on things you've already bought. So that's what we're going to do in this video. My relationship to makeup is going to be very different than yours. You very likely don't make any money talking about makeup on the internet. Think about that context as I talk about this. This is something I like to do on my channel to keep myself in check. I also don't want to buy everything just to review. And that's certainly not what you should be doing if you are just a makeup lover at home. You can love makeup and appreciate makeup without buying new makeup. If you are new to my channel, I would love to have you subscribe. This is a lot of what I like to do on my channel. We're at a bit of a in-between point in my makeup channel, so I think I'm going to start diversifying my content a little bit. So if you want to stick around for that, I would love for you to be here. If not, no worries. I'm happy that you're here, but please hit the like button at least before you leave. So in September of 2024, I bought 4 products, and they were all the same type of product because I bought them initially to do a dedicated video on them, and then that didn't come to fruition. I'm going to show you all 4 products because I still actually have them. I bought the HINDASH highlighters and the Gucci highlighters. The reason I bought these was to compare them to one another because when they were both being sneak peeked and before their launch, the way that they were described by both brands really felt like they were going to be similar products. They are not really similar products. They're quite distinct from one another, and the shades were also more different than I was expecting. So the comparison video never came to be. But I do feel as though I've talked a lot about both of these products on my channel, despite the fact that I never made like a dedicated review video on either product. Let's start with the products that I don't talk about as much, and it is the Gucci highlighters. I have the shade Opal Pink, which was the one I actually bought first, and then I went back and bought Frosted Lilac, which is the other shade I bought. But this one was the one I bought first. Whenever I saw the price, which these were priced at $65, I was a little bit perturbed. Or 60, I actually don't really remember, but they were expensive and they're Gucci. Of course, Gucci's gonna be expensive, but I remember thinking, okay, if I'm gonna do this, maybe I'll just buy one of each highlight that was similar. Well, then the highlighters from HINDASH came out, and I thought, okay, like, you know, it just turned into this whole thing. If I were to do it all again as a makeup consumer, Opal Pink would have been the only Gucci highlighter I would have purchased. I was correct the first time. There's something very special about this shade. When they did the advertising for this, it felt like this shade was being really advertised on people with a medium skin tone, but it actually works on my skin tone quite well. It just has this like very natural pink sheen, but it's not super pinky. Like, I feel like it's the kind of pink that can kind of go with anything. It's not leaning too cool or too warm. It's just like this beautiful neutral pink. And on my skin tone, you just kind of see the sheen because I have a bit of pink in my undertones. And it's just such a beautiful product. It's a very subtle highlighter. There are ways to build it up, but I like its subtleness. But there are people who I've seen review this product be dissatisfied with the level of shine they get from it. So I really do recommend this to people who like highlight but do not want something that's kind of an all-out highlighter. I also feel like this shade is just quite special. As far as any highlighter I've tried, I've never really tried anything with this kind of like beige base that this has. But like I said, it's not the only one I bought. I also have the Frosted Lilac. Now, Frosted Lilac is an incredibly wearable purple iridescent highlighter. So it's not right here. It wears really naturally on the skin for it being a purple. And I also think it's quite a unique shade for a luxury brand like Gucci to do. I just feel like you don't see this often whenever you're looking at luxury brands. Well, that seems to be changing because Dior also released some more really sparkly kind of iridescent highlighters this year, which is interesting to see from these kinds of brands. I don't use this one nearly as much because one of the HINDASH highlighters is my preferred version of something like this. It's a little more, I don't want to say natural looking, because I do think the HINDASH highlighters can be built up to be very blinding, whereas I think there are a lot more limitations with this formula from Gucci. It's some kind of baked gel, but it is really putty but only I've ever seen that in Sephora. I don't want to press into mine like that, but if you've ever seen these really swatched out at Sephora, they look like all hell has broken loose, and that's just like not my experience with the product. I don't know how people are when they're swatching, like digging into it like that. It's a really pretty highlighter. I think that they can be natural. They have the smallest little shimmer particles, but I don't find that they really enhance my texture at all on my cheek. Like they do in the way that they are highlighters, but not in the way that I feel like they are sitting in like cracks on my skin, which I feel like sometimes glitter can have the propensity to do. Is propensity the right word? I don't know. I won't look it up. Usually I do this format of video, like product by product, but I think because I bought all 4 of these products in order to kind of compare them to each other when I bought them, I think it makes more sense for me to talk about both formulas and then talk about like the reflective qualities that I would like to talk about. I also bought 2 of the HINDASH highlighters. We have the shade Doll Dynasty, which is this more warmer gradient highlighter. And we also have La Luna, which is more cool toned, but La Luna is cool tone, but it's a very wearable cool tone. I feel like whenever you look at it in the pan, it looks like it's gonna be icy white, but here it is swatched out, and definitely it is cool, but there is some more like nudie tones in there, kind of grounding it, which I find makes it really wearable. And perhaps if you're someone who has wanted to wear a cool toned highlighter, but you have found previously that anything that icy kind of reads really terribly on your skin, this could be the solution for you, just simply because I feel like in the marketing they make it look icy and purple, but that's not really the experience of it. Like, I don't know if it's really reading on camera. I think it reads better on my finger. It's not like just white sparkles. Now this, I feel it has much more impact than the Gucci highlighters do if you want it to, but if you apply it very lightly, I think it also could have a very similar effect to the Gucci highlighters. I will say there's a lot more shimmer going on in the HINDASH highlighters, but again, I feel like on the cheek, you really just kind of get a wet look sheen. I don't really feel like you really get like glittery sparkle. Like it's not like whenever I use the Fenty Diamond Balm, I feel like whenever I put that on my cheek, it just looks like I have like shimmer particles going up my face. It's not quite like that. They're very consistent. And yeah, I don't know. I never really have had that issue with the HINDASH highlighters. We also have Doll Dynasty, which is a little bit warmer. This is really out of my comfort zone, especially when it comes to highlighters. I wear a lot of like neutral and cool toned makeup in general. And kind of like La Luna, I think La Luna will work for people who typically wear warmer or neutral tones as a cool toned highlighter. I feel the same way about Doll Dynasty, which is over here. It has like that nudie base to it as well, and it just leans a little bit warm. I've worn Doll Dynasty with cool toned looks and it looks amazing with it, and vice versa. I've worn La Luna with warmer toned looks and it also looks amazing. They're just like a little more neutral, I feel like, than it seems. Also, this one looks like it's a lot darker than this, but I can still wear this. The only time it becomes pretty visible is if I really focus on the dark side of the gradient. That can be where I get a little bit more of that deeper tone. In that point, I just swatch it like on top of the other highlighter. I don't know if you can see that streak in the middle. At that point, it kind of becomes more of like a blush topper. But most of the time when I use these highlighters, I just swirl my brush in kind of carefree and apply it. And I've never really had any issues of it having a cast on me. Though I do think for medium skin tones, you might want to stick to this one. I know that cooler tones on some medium skin tones can end up looking ashy. I'm not sure I have the answer to that, but you might want to find someone who has a skin tone more similar to you talking about these HINDASH highlighters. There's also a deeper shade that I didn't get because it certainly wouldn't have worked for me. So when I think about these purchases, I would say it was bought for making content, for the purposes of reviewing, for the purposes of sharing my experience with them to you, the audience, for the most part. I would have bought La Luna no matter what. I do think because HINDASH is a brand I actually quite like, and at this point I'm kind of, you know, friends with HINDASH, which is a crazy thing for me to say. Like friendly, I want to say friendly, like obviously we're not telling each other, well, we have shared trauma stories. Anyway, all that being said, this was before that happened at all, but like HINDASH is a brand that I've been compelled by. I have tried the eyeshadow palettes and I really like those, and so that was why I was compelled to try these. I saw some things from the brand I haven't tried, but overall this would have been, I think, the thing I would have bought of the four. I am not sure that I would have bought the Gucci highlighters other than to compare to the HINDASH highlighters. They were certainly bought for content, especially Frosted Lilac. While I think it's a shade that I can get a lot of use out of, and I have used enough to get at least the embossing off the top, and I do think I actually use Frosted Lilac more than I use this one, because I do actually just more so reach for the HINDASH highlighters over any other highlighter. If one of the HINDASH highlighters will work for my look, they tend to be the one I reach for first. I just took Luna on a trip with me, so it's like it was the thing I thought of, it was the thing I reached for first. If I could do it all over again as a consumer, I would have only probably wanted to buy Opal Pink. So that's where that whole thing where it's like, did I buy it for review? Did I buy it for myself? Really comes into play. And Doll Dynasty also, I don't think I would have bought if I wasn't planning on reviewing them. But I really thought that Opal Pink and Doll Dynasty were going to read a little more similarly IRL than they do. They're very different shades. The same thing with Luna and Frosted Lilac. I thought they were going to read more similarly. When I think back on this purchase for the channel, do I think it was a good purchase? I do think that they were a good purchase for the channel. I feel like I was able to use them. I never really did any direct comparisons with them. That was the video I thought I was going to do with them, and then once I had them, it just didn't make a ton of sense for me to do a dedicated video to that. I compared them to each other throughout the year, but ultimately, if I were to do it all again with the knowledge I know now, I only would have bought a HINDASH highlighter, and it would have been Luna. That just is the right choice. That would have been the right choice. But considering that is not where I'm at as far as being a consumer of makeup, and I do a little bit more than that, I'm not unhappy with the fact that I bought all of them. I also feel like I learned a lot, that I can make a highlighter that looks like this work for my skin tone, and it can be very easy. I also learned that I'm not sure that I think the Gucci highlighters are worth it. When all is said and done, I don't think I would spend this much money on the Gucci highlighters, and I also maybe probably wouldn't buy them on sale. The packaging at that price point, I would expect something a little bit better. We have seen Gucci do better packaging with their blushes and their bronzer, so they leave a lot to be desired as far as covetable things, and at that price point I do think that that's a bit of a shame. And I think that there are a lot of brands that make shades like Frosted Lilac at a less expensive price that also are more interesting highlighters. I think someone who wants this kind of highlighter is not going to be looking to Gucci for that experience and would look elsewhere. But if you found the Gucci highlighter and you're I don't want to pay $65 for a purple highlighter, you can certainly find that at another price point. And while I think Opal Pink is very special and I like it, it's still not the thing at the top of my mind whenever I'm reaching for highlighters. So at $65, I'm not sure if that's a good buy either. I really wasn't expecting to enjoy Doll Dynasty, but I was watching HINDASH do some tutorials with it, and he really showed in those videos how I can make it work for me. And I do actually reach for this shade quite a bit. Not as much as I reached for Luna, but way more than I thought I was going to. I wasn't sure that this would be a shade that I would keep after I felt like I had satisfactorily, another word I had to Google. Satisfactorily is a word, but it didn't feel like one. I really thought that I was going to get rid of this after I felt like I had made my decision, satisfactorily answered all the questions I had about the highlighter, but it became more useful than I thought it would. And then Luna is the star, the chef's kiss, the moment. She is everything. Luna is my favorite highlighter of all time, so this one was certainly worth it. Overall, it's so rare whenever I do one of these reflection videos, especially when I'm buying makeup for content, for me to have everything I bought that month still in my makeup collection. So that is a bit of a testament to these products, even though I don't think the Gucci highlighters are as worth it as these ones are from HINDASH. Also, if you live in the United States, HINDASH is carried at Beautylish, which will make it more accessible as far as shipping goes, because I bought mine through HINDASH's website and the international shipping is $15. Also, with the de minimis and all of that happening, I'm not sure if HINDASH is even shipping directly to the US right now. I haven't seen him post anything about it, but Beautylish might just be the better option for those of you who live in the US. And if you don't live in the US, perhaps buying directly from HINDASH's website would be the easiest way to get it. So just throwing that out there if that's something that you're interested in. So yeah, overall, I'm like very satisfied with my September purchases of last year. I don't think there's a lot to complain about, even though I did buy most of it for content, and they all really worked for me in a way that I wasn't expecting, and they are all still here in my makeup collection, which is incredible. And I think that's really it. I don't have further thoughts about it. Let me know if there's anything that you're revived and passionate about that you bought this time last year. I would love to hear it. What is the product? Let us know in the comments. Do you still use that product? Has it faded away in the popularity of your mind? I would love to know. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I will have a pinned comment. In there, I will have links to support people directly in Gaza. If you have funds to support those people, please do so. I'm on Patreon and I have channel memberships. I do an additional video over there every single month. That is definitely a way to support me that goes beyond. And if you can't do that right now or simply don't want to, no worries. I'm so happy that you are here. And I think we can end there. Remember to follow your haute and you'll find me. I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out.